Late adolescence is a period of significant hormonal, metabolic, and neurological maturation, and continuous access to ultra-processed foods during this critical stage may profoundly disrupt the body's natural appetite regulation systems. Unlike minimally processed diets, ultra-processed foods are engineered to be hyperpalatable, energy-dense, and rapidly digestible, and repeated exposure can distort the delicate hormonal signals that normally guide hunger, satiety, and energy balance. The consequences extend beyond immediate overeating. They may fundamentally alter the homeostatic systems that control appetite, contributing to long-term metabolic dysfunction and increased risk for obesity, insulin resistance, and related chronic diseases. Key hormones such as ghrelin, leptin, and insulin are central to appetite regulation, and ultra-processed diets appear to interfere with all three. Ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone, normally rises before meals to stimulate appetite and falls after food intake. Regular consumption of ultra-processed foods, which are rapidly absorbed and intensely rewarding, can create mismatches between caloric intake and ghrelin suppression. The high sugar and fat content can trigger quick spikes in blood glucose and transient satiety signals, followed by rapid declines that cause ghrelin levels to rebound prematurely. This can leave adolescents feeling hungry shortly after eating, reinforcing cycles of frequent snacking and overconsumption even when energy needs have been met. Over time, these repeated fluctuations may recalibrate ghrelin dynamics, making hunger signals less reliable and increasing vulnerability to compulsive eating behaviors. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness and inhibits further intake, is similarly disrupted by habitual ultra-processed food exposure. Normally, rising leptin levels communicate to the brain that energy stores are sufficient, suppressing appetite. However, diets high in refined sugars and fats can promote leptin resistance, a condition in which the brain fails to respond appropriately to circulating leptin. Adolescents consuming these foods may continue to eat despite elevated leptin levels, weakening the body's natural satiety cues. Over weeks and months, this can entrench a cycle in which food intake is driven more by reward and hedonic pleasure than by true energy needs. The result is persistent overeating, impaired energy balance, and accelerated fat accumulation, even in the absence of overt caloric surplus. Insulin dynamics are also affected. Ultra-processed foods with high glycemic loads provoke rapid spikes in blood glucose, prompting substantial insulin release to restore homeostasis. Chronic exposure can stress pancreatic beta cells and diminish insulin sensitivity, particularly in adolescents with developing metabolic systems. Impaired insulin signaling not only increases the risk of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, but also interferes with appetite regulation. Insulin normally interacts with the brain to reduce food intake after meals, but resistance blunts this effect, making it easier to consume additional calories before physiological signals indicate satiety. Combined with disrupted ghrelin and leptin signaling, this creates a hormonal environment in which hunger cues, fullness cues, and energy balance are all misaligned. Behavioral and environmental factors amplify the problem. Continuous availability of ultra-processed foods through vending machines, convenience stores, campus cafeterias, and social settings provides a constant opportunity to override internal cues. The foods themselves are designed for rapid consumption, minimal chewing, and high reward, which further diminishes the brain's ability to register fullness in real time. Adolescents, whose executive function and self-regulatory capacities are still maturing, are particularly susceptible to these external cues, creating a feedback loop in which environmental access, hedonic appeal, and hormonal dysregulation reinforce each other. The long-term consequences are alarming. Adolescents with chronically disrupted appetite regulation are more likely to experience overeating, weight gain, metabolic syndrome, and heightened susceptibility to chronic inflammation. Patterns established during late adolescence may be exceptionally difficult to reverse, as the body's regulatory systems and reward pathways adapt to frequent ultra-processed food exposure. Even with later dietary improvements, hormonal misalignments can persist, leaving individuals vulnerable to cravings, dysregulated energy intake, and persistent adiposity. The warning is stark. Continuous access to ultra-processed foods during late adolescence does more than contribute extra calories. It fundamentally undermines the hormonal architecture that regulates hunger and satiety. By altering ghrelin, leptin, and insulin dynamics, These diets decouple physiological needs from eating behavior, promote compulsive consumption, and accelerate metabolic risk. For parents, educators, and policymakers, this highlights an urgent need to limit habitual exposure, create healthier food environments, and support adolescents in developing eating patterns that respect natural appetite regulation. Without intervention, the combination of environmental access, hyperpalatable design, and hormonal disruption may set the stage for lifelong metabolic and behavioral consequences.